What keeps you going?
Because I'm always driven. If you have the right people, you can be a work family.
The generations now, unfortunately, would have given up in your position.
Don't think I haven't said it. Don't think I haven't said it because I've said it.
But you haven't done it.
I've struggled. We have struggled, as a family, but I never want that again.
Welcome back to another episode of Intrepidus Podcast with your hosts, Dan and Anthony. Today we have a special guest, Karen Isnardi with Always Driven Apparel. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
For sure. I'm happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about your story. So about 10 years in the industry, doing screen printing and embroidery. Tell us about a little bit about what you do.
So I started 10 years ago not trying to be in business. I have 3 daughters, and at the time they were all cheerleading. And they all wanted apparel. And the cheerleaders love the bling apparel. It's all sparkly and rhinestone. And so I decided, I was like, it's a lot of money to spend on these kids. So I decided to try to learn myself how to do it. And I started making things. I started wearing them. People were like, can you make that for me? And then I made it for someone. Then they wanted it for their son's baseball team. And then it just evolved. So I had a full-time job. I worked for government. And so it was just a hobby. And then when I started selling things, I was like, this is not a hobby. This will be my little side business. So I did that for about 7 years. And then I decided to retire from my government job and do this full-time. Although probably for the last 5 years, it really kind of was full-time, even though I was working full-time. So it was like having 2 full-time jobs. And then it just became a business. And I did it for a year after I retired from home. That was the goal. I worked out of the house for so long that I was looking forward to working from home. And after a year, I couldn't do it anymore. I needed help. And I didn't have the office space I wanted to do it from home. So I took on a storefront. And I've been doing it out of the house now for 2 years, and it's crazy. I went from a one-man band myself to now there's 9 of us in the store, at any given moment, and it's incredible. It's incredible.
Wow! So from a side hustle to 9 employees, I think it's important for people to understand that when you do things that you enjoy, and then you start to see that there's something behind it, it creates this whole different vibrant feeling inside of you. Number 1, you're putting smiles on people's faces. Number 2, you see the income. Number 3, you see the possibility. So when was there a point where you were making enough money to realize, hey, this could be something huge for us if I just take the next step? And after you thought about that, how scared were you to take that next step?
So funny you say that. So like I said, I never said, well, I want to have a screen printing business one day. No, I always wanted to be a social worker, and that's what I was for a long time. But it got to a point where I had an office in the house, and I loved it. I had a TV in there, I had music. It was great. I loved working independently. It was at my own pace and my own time. It was great. But it got crazy. And it got to the point where UPS, we were on a first name basis, there were constant packages coming, and then my house didn't feel like a home, and the packages were everywhere. And it was actually my dad who came to visit one day, and he's like, you got to make a move. You've got to do something. You're either going to be all in or you're not. You cannot continue the way you're going. And he was right. He was right. So he's like, you really need to look for a storefront where you're not going to be able to take on the business. And once you turn people away, they're not going to come back. So I decided, I was like, okay. So I started looking. And actually the first place I looked at, it was right around the corner from my house. And I was like, what, this could work. So before I signed my lease, I called a friend who I knew how to press shirts. Because you don't want to just hire somebody. You want to have someone who knows what they're doing, and that always helps. So I called her, and her name's Lori, and I said, she's a friend of mine. I said, Lori, listen, I'm thinking about taking the plunge and signing a lease. I don't want to do it unless I know I have someone to help me. And she hadn't been in the workforce in, I don't know the amount of years, I'm going to guess maybe 10, maybe 7. So she was like, I'll do it. I was like, we'll do it part-time. I was like, I can't guarantee you hours all the time. We're gonna take this as, we go. And she was on board. She's like, yeah, I'll help you. She's still there. She's never left. Now it's a lot of hours and we have a lot of additions and it's really cool. It's really cool. And everybody that I work with, I love. Like, they're great. We're all friends, and it's an interesting dynamic because where I come from, you should never be friends with your staff. Like, that's always like, cardinal rule, But I'm going to tell you something. There is another side to it, that when you treat people and they feel like they're a part of something, not only are they working for you during work hours, but they're promoting you when they're not there. Yep. And it's been great for everyone. People, and you could ask all of them, and they would say the same thing. They all tell me how much they love being there. We have a good time. They know how hard it is of what we do. But, I always say, we're not curing cancer here, right? We're making shirts. We're doing things for people that they're going to love. So, we have to put that in perspective too. So I want them to enjoy themselves. I went to a job I didn't like for many years, and nobody likes that. And you're not productive. Let's face it. If you don't like what you're doing, whether you're the boss or whether you're the employee, you're not going to be at your best. Yeah. So if they like what they're doing and we can get along, it's a win-win for everyone.
So you're talking about your dad. Your dad's working with you now.
Yeah, he does.
And, does your dad have an entrepreneurial background? Because it seems like he's the one who said, listen, you got something big here. You're going to do it or not. Because, hobbies at the end of the day don't make you money. They just cause you stress. And what's your dad's background? Does he have a business background?
So my dad does. My dad's always been pretty much in management. My dad, I'm a lot like my dad. My dad's a hustler. Growing up, my dad used to go out to like yard sales, right? And he would buy something. And he learned, him and my uncles, they all had the eye. Like, they could go out there and get something and be like, I can turn this around and make a ton of money on this. And they did that. And that's, my dad worked, but that was the extra that supported us. And my dad hustled. He hustled on weekends. Look, I was his map reader. Like, back then we didn't have GPS. So we would travel all over the state of New Jersey, and he would map out the night before where we were going, and I would read the map. I mean, there were a few times that map got thrown at me because I sent him in the wrong direction, but yeah, he knew. And he will tell you to this day, he never expected this to go as big as it is. Like, he's at the store right now, like, doing stuff for me, and he'll say, he goes, I never thought it would take off the way it's taken off. He can't believe it. Neither can I, quite frankly, but it's exciting. It is.
Yeah. Something great an unexpected gift, I suppose. But let's step back into, your employees real fast, because you said something and touched on a topic that I love talking about, and I'm curious to hear your perspective on it, which is culture. It's very difficult to, as you alluded to in your previous life, as a social worker, there's a lot of people that come in and they're not satisfied with their job. They don't want to be there. They come in with anything except for a smile on their face. How exactly do you foster that culture within your work environment and allow it to continue to thrive?
So at the end of my career in government, and I'm thankful for the career I had there. I will never say differently. I have a pension every month that I worked very hard for. I started right out of high school, went to college while I worked full time. So will always be thankful for the opportunity that I had. But it was a different culture. I went home many nights, didn't sleep, sick to my stomach, because I always felt like I was on high alert. If you made a mistake, you were going to pay for it. You know what I mean? And you paid really with self-reflection. Like, you just didn't want to make those mistakes. And it was a different culture. I often say I never want anyone to go home feeling that way. And that is kind of a rule in my store. I won't let anyone talk to or disrespect my staff. And I'm proud to say, you're always going to have a customer who's not happy. Let's face it. You can't please people 100% of the time. But But I would say 98% of the time we do. And once in a while you get that one who's just not right. And we've had that. And I have had, an opportunity at one point where I told somebody, don't ever come back in my store again, ever. You will never speak to my staff like that again. And it's funny, like I say my staff, but anytime I typically talk about them, I say my team. Because I am nothing without them. I'm not. There's no way in hell I'm going to get up in the morning and be able to do what every one of them do every day by myself. And I know it. And they know it. And I tell them all the time how much I appreciate them. And I do. And if I haven't said it today, I love you guys. And I mean it, but that is the case. And it's just the way I was raised to, your staff are your staff, and when you cross that line, it's never good. But I'm going to say something. If you have the right people, you can be a work family. You really, it's crazy, and maybe I just have the right people, and I know I do. But that's how I feel. Like if I see somebody and they're like, oh, I heard this one works for you. I'm like, yeah, we work together. There is no, and they know who owns the store, don't get me wrong. And I know, but I don't want to treat them like that because I know how important they are and I appreciate them and they know every day how much I appreciate them.
That's powerful. So, a lot of people want to go in business. A lot of people have big dreams, but they oftentimes have a bigger excuse than a reason why. So just talking off set and getting to know you a little bit prior to us filming here, you overcame a lot of adversity and you still go through it. And you have 3 daughters and a husband, and there's so many challenges that you had to go through and continue to go through. Maybe you could share with the audience about some of the hard times in your life that put a lot of weight on you and caused difficult times, but you still fought through it. And you still have a purpose for why you do what you do.
So, most people who know me know that my husband's sick. He's been sick for years. He has a brain injury. We don't hide it. If there's nothing to hide or be embarrassed of, people of all walks have problems, right? And you can either, you can wallow in them or you can move forward, right? And that's not to say that I haven't had the why me syndrome, because I have. I don't think you can have such a disappointment in your life and not feel that way. If you are, then you're really something special. And but we've had our struggle, and we had it very early on. John and I are married 30 years, and I'm gonna say they've been hard years. He'll tell you too, they're hard years. And your marriage, when someone's sick and the dynamics change, where you kind of are more of a caretaker and a caregiver, and John still does a lot independently, even though he has a brain injury. But John came out of the workforce at, I want to say he was like 35, maybe? Yeah, 35. That's young, and he never wanted to be out of the workforce. He wanted to work. And unfortunately, that decision was made for him. So that was a struggle for him, and him being home, he, after I had kids, I went right back to work. He worked, our kids went to daycare. That's just how it was. And so but we had often talked years ago, when our kids were young, he's like, maybe you should stay home. And I'm like, no, I have a career, you have a career, it is what it is. So then when he stayed home, he hated it. He never wanted to stay home. And, now some of the teachers and stuff, they loved it because, when something happened at school, he could even move the stuff around or do stuff. And he got a kick out of it, and he made the best of it. I have to give it to him. He did. But it was never what he wanted, ever. And when someone makes that decision for you, instead of you making that decision independently, it's not what, you want what you want. Mm-hmm. So that was a struggle, and the dynamic was an effect on our marriage, and just when you get sick, you change, and when you are the spouse of someone who's sick, you change, because you have these dreams that you're going to build together, and then all of a sudden things change, and we have children, and they saw the change too. So It's an interesting dynamic, but I say all the time, and I say it to him, because there's no kid gloves in my house. We treat him the way we would any other day, whether he was sick or not, because why would you treat someone different, right? They're gonna know, so you treat them the same way. I'll say to him, can you come and just do this for me at the store? Even if it's collecting the garbage or doing something, he'll do it. He'll try to do whatever he can. He's a very good dad. He's always there for my children, always was, because he was the one who was home. So I was jealous at times because I was the one, running around like the crazy woman, and he was the one home. So yeah, it was definitely, it was hard. And then, you're raising your kids, you're running for sports, you're doing stuff, and you have a business. So something gives. It has to give. And it's still a struggle. I had 2 kids in Florida in college. And it's like, they're like, Mom, can you come down and visit? And I'm like, no, I can't. I made it to the important things, but no. And, even one of them will still say, you own the business, why can't you just come home?
But they don't know.
And I'm like, because I own the business, I can't just come home. Like it's tough. Like, it was Black Friday, and typically, my kids I'll say like, what do you want for Christmas? I'll try to shop. And my youngest one calls me, she's like, it's Black Friday, why are you at work? And I'm like, because I gotta work. Yeah. So that's hard. That's hard because, like they want to go on vacation, they want to do things, and you can't always do that. So you feel like you're disappointing your kids, and so you're disappointing yourself. And as a mom, I always want to say that is my most important job because it is. But I also have a responsibility to staff, like they want to work. Yeah. So it's like you are pulled in 100 directions. So it is very tough.
The balancing of unbalancing.
Awful. And I'm going to say I suck at it. I do.
All us business owners do.
You're a rare breed, Karen.
Yeah, I suck at it. No, I do, because I work all the time. I was watching the Eagles game last night, and I'm on the laptop. I'm on the laptop all day, and then it dies, and I have to charge it, and then I'm coming back, and then I'm back at it. Like,
sounds like you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the reality of what you're doing, being entrepreneurial, doing everything for your family, but you astonish me as a woman, honestly, because you're a rare breed, super rare breed. Because I know, the generations now, unfortunately, would have given up in your position, at least on one of the 2.
Don't think I haven't said it. Don't think I haven't said it, because I've said it.
But you haven't done it, right? And that's the important part. So my question to you is, how? Why? How exactly? What keeps you going?
Because I'm always driven. I am always driven to be successful. I want to be successful. First of all, I want to be a role model for my 3 daughters.
What drives you? Something
I
drives
drive
you.
myself.
No, there's something.
No, you know what? I am the kind of person, I like a challenge. I do. And of course, listen, money drives us all. I want to be able, my kids, they, like I said, I have 3 daughters. 2 have one finished college, another one's finishing her master's in March. My oldest, she'll have a social work degree in March, her master's. My middle one just graduated with a business marketing. And I have a 16-year-old who's going to go off to college. So you know what? I don't want debt. I don't. And I own my house outright. And I'm proud of that. I really am. And I've struggled. We have struggled, as a family, but I never want that again. And,
there's your why.
And I want to be able to, leave a legacy for my children. And, that's important to me. So, but I drive myself because, look, I could sit home. I have a pension, you know what I mean? And so I don't have to work. People say to me all the time, you're retired. Why are you home? Because it's not enough. And not so much the money. What am I going to do at home all day? First of all, the day I told John I retired, I was at work and I just made a decision. I had enough. I typed my retirement letter right on the spot. I walked in, I handed it in, and when I got home that night, I told my husband, I said, I retired today. He's like, oh, okay. And then he goes, wait, what? So I think the idea of me sitting at home with him was scary.
Did you have the Driven Apparel business plan before you retired, or you just said, I had enough?
I had enough.
Really?
I had enough. At that point, I always had my business, and we were busy. I was busy. So did I think I couldn't grow it? No, I knew I could grow it even more because I was still picking up people all the time, and I was busy. Like literally, I would get up for work. I had to be at work for 8:00 in the morning, and I'd get there earlier. I'd work all day, some days till my work day was technically till 4:30. If I got out of there at 4:30, it was a miracle. So I get home. Let's say I go home 5:30. I would go home, literally go in, change my clothes because I dress nice for work. Literally undress, throw on sweats, tank top, put my hair up, turn my press on. I feed my family, and I was in my office till about midnight, 1:00 in the morning. If I got 6 hours of sleep, it was a long night. I did great. So I just kept that. And then on weekends, I banged out shirts. So I was busy, but once I knew I was retiring, then I amped it up. You know what I mean? Then I tried to say, okay, what could I do? And I looked into different ways to enhance the business. And I did. I started with online stores. They were very, very good. They're a lot of work. But they were helpful.
Where did you find the most business in the beginning?
Always with kids. Like I did a lot of business with schools, school sports, school organizations, and I still have those customers today.
How do you get in the door with them though?
I don't know. Like it was kind of right? Yeah. It was. So I've never advertised. Up until maybe this year, like I'll do a little thing here and there. Like if somebody comes in the store and they're like, my son has a booster club. Can you take an ad in the book? Okay. I've never been on a billboard. I've never been on TV. I have my Instagram, my Facebook. We started some TikToks now, but never advertised. It's all word of mouth, and that's how I've gotten in. The schools are great, and teachers are fantastic. Teachers, they work hard. They take care. I don't know how they do it. I have a lot of respect for teachers. To have 30, 35 kids in a class all day, I have 3 and it's enough. It's a lot. So I give them, and they're so good about like referring our business out. Teachers, principals, I work with all of them and they're fantastic. Coaches.
So you have a reason why, you just didn't know your reason why just now. You want to build a legacy for your kids. Money's secondary to you. You don't want to have debt, which is a strong thing that people don't ever, focus on or force themselves upon. They want to have all the stuff with debt, but you don't want to have debt. But you want to build a legacy. So what I see from you is that your kids are your inspiration because you're trying to show them something and teach them something, but you're your motivation. So you're your drive, and you are who you are. We all are. Like, we can only motivate ourselves. Yeah. But your reason why is because you want to build a legacy, and you're trying to prove that no matter how hard life has been for us kids and your husband and your whole life, you're still going to do it. You have a vision to do it. Now you're going bigger. So you really do have something that pushes you and drives you every day, but then it's you who takes the wheel, you who puts the foot on the gas. So what I can ask you is that what throughout this time of growth, we all have in a business, when there's been like a pivotal moment in your business where you either got scared or you questioned yourself because things maybe just weren't going right. It could have been COVID, it could have been whatever. But there's always a point in business when we're growing where something just scares us, it freaks us out, it keeps us up at night, whatever it is. What has happened throughout the process of business that has maybe scared you or keeps you up at night?
So what keeps me up at night, I'll tell you what keeps me up at night. I was up last night.
Hopefully not afraid to get on the podcast.
No. We have some struggles, right? I have some struggles. As we grow, right? So when you go from a one-man band and then you take it out of your house to a business, and even when it was just myself and Lori and then, Michelle came, it was enough to control, right? I could control it. Now that it's become so big, we need certain things to help us stay organized and on top of things. So it's like, I used to have a plan. I still have a planner. I keep a planner. I write everything. I love it. But planner is it's not handling my business right now. You know what I mean? It's not, because I need to be able to put that someplace, like all these orders somewhere instead of in a planner or on a ticket. We need a system. So like yesterday I spent half the day looking for better business software. So what keeps me up at night right now is worrying about the one where I'm going to forget.
Talk to Anthony. He's very good with systems and getting data together and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He's very, very good with that. For me, I'm a paper and pen kind of guy, but he's very good at that.
Yeah,
All fair, we could discuss that.
There's
a million solutions.
We're trying one right now, like with the Google Tasks and stuff like that, but I don't see that long term. Like I started looking at some stuff here, but that's the kind of stuff, like all of a sudden I'm up at night, I'm sleeping, I'm like, what about this? I forgot about it. And I'll like put a note on my phone. And it's crazy. It keeps you up because you don't want to disappoint people that have put their, they're giving you their business. Like, they're engaging with you. Like they're supporting you. So you don't want to do them dirty, you want to.
I've got two phones. I text myself all the time. Like, don't forget this, don't forget this.
I showed you how many texts are on my phone, 450 something. Like I can't even get to them. And there is something wrong with my phone, but it's just ridiculous. Like I see all the notifications and I'm like, oh my God. Like sometimes I just wish it would break and I can start fresh.
It's time for an assistant.
Just unread all.
And I have them,
just read all. Yeah. That's a product to be really busy, so congratulations. Because I remember a time where I couldn't go without seeing a red notification on my phone without going absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Having to find out what it was for, again, opening it up.
I was like that at one point.
Zero. And then eventually you say, I have bigger fish to fry.
I've given it to God at this point.
In God we trust. For sure. What exactly, so look, you have 3 kids, 2 that are in college, you said?
One is getting her master's. She's almost done. The other one just graduated in August.
Just graduated.
Yeah, and I'm a sophomore in high school.
Sophomore, getting ready for college.
Yeah, all great kids, I have to say.
You did this when you had 2 college students full-time.
Yeah.
A disabled husband. Now, a lot of the hurdles that people have to overcome or blame on is a lack of time, right? And we find that everyone has an excuse, excuses like assholes, they say, everyone has one, right? How exactly, what advice would you give to somebody who maybe doesn't have to go through the trials and tribulations that you have had in your past and currently have to navigate through now? What would you tell that person who has far less responsibilities as you, but still claims that they don't have enough time, but still want to be in a position that you are?
Well, I will say this. I had somebody come into the store. We have this a lot, actually. And you're both in business. You may have this too, where they come around you. They don't tell you what they're trying to do, but they're going to open a business like yours. And they come and they explore and they see. And then finally, like, you just know. So, like, I'll confront the person, right? I'm like, you're in business, right? Well, yeah, I'm opening one. And they try to, like, take all your, your contacts, your ideas. I don't play that game. You know what? And I'll say why. And it's not because I'm trying to be selfish, with my contacts or anything. It's not that. You have to learn for yourself. You have to make the mistakes. You have to lose the money. And you will lose money when you start a business. But you'll never make that mistake again. When it costs you a lot, that's the one you'll learn from. And if I feel like if I'm giving you that, then you're missing out. You're going to think that you got it all, and you will never learn unless you make those expensive mistakes or the ones that really affect you. And we've made them. And time is a huge problem. Like, it's sacrifice, let's face it. If you are someone, and my family will always come first, but there are times when I have to disappoint my family and say, this is also a priority. I can't do what you want to do. My daughter said to me on Friday, she goes, let's go to New York and watch a show. I said, I'd love to watch a show. However, I can't. So yeah, I'm disappointing them, but they're still my first priority, but I have to see like what we're going to do. That's a priority that day, right? So in a perfect world, had I just been in government still, yeah, I had weekends off. I had nights off. That would have been great. I could have done everything. But it's sacrifice. Everything is sacrifice, and time is the biggest thing you sacrifice. Time, it is stressful. You know, there's been times where I've had to go and see a doctor because I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack. And it's stress, you know? It's stress, and stress kills. So you do have to find the balance, and you have to be able to juggle. And something's gonna suffer. It's gonna happen, right? Whether it's time with your family, whether you're not grocery shopping, you know, you have to adjust your time. And time costs money, right? So like, I'll give you an example. I like to clean my house on the weekends, right? But I'm gonna clean all day. You know, I'm gonna get it the way I want it, I'm gonna clean all day. Or I'm gonna hire a cleaning person, which is what I just did, because I'm gonna spend 9 hours cleaning my house the way I wanna clean it, or I'm gonna pay somebody, and in those 9 hours, I'm gonna work and make more money working.
Right, yeah.
So you have to be able to realize that your time costs money.
Yep.
So you may wanna save money in certain aspects, but you gotta spend money to make money.
But for the $150 that you're spending for someone to clean
Right.
your house, you got 9 hours, which is thousands and thousands of dollars
Got
for
it.
yourself. And what I can tell you though is you've been in business now for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I've been in business for 25. You do have to start planning things. Like, so what I started doing about 10 years ago is I would tell my kids, like, this is what we're going to do. And I would get them involved. Your daughter, a couple of your daughters are older, but I would get my kids involved. Like, so we're going to go on a big family vacation. So don't ask me why I'm working so much. Don't ask me what I'm doing, but here's what we're going to do. And then when you get them engaged and you get them wrapped in, they're not going to hear the no, I can't. They're going to wait till we do. You know what I'm saying? And you start doing stuff like that. You start putting time away, and maybe working a half a day on a Saturday, and going out with your kids. And if you just start doing these little things, it's hard for us as business owners because we're like OCD and we're crazy, and we always want to be there, and we feel if we're not there, it's out of control. But that's a problem. And my mentor told me, I talked to Anthony about this some time ago when we were in a mastermind group. My mentor told me a long time ago, the day you let go of control is the day you have more control. So we always want to do everything, be everywhere, and do everything that we feel that we need to be participating in. But there's so many things that we can say, all right, you have 9 people working for you. You're going to do this, you're great at this, you're going to do this, you're great at this. You take off this day, I'm going to take off this day. And you get everyone wrapped in that. It's going to change. So as you're growing now to this bigger place, it's going to change so much about your business and everything because people are going to take a little bit of pressure off, get a little bit of time. You're going to get a little bit of time. And it's just going to change everything about everything. I'm promising you that because I see you're me when I was 10 years in business. And I was like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this. I'm like, I just can't get to the next step. I have no time. It's like, yeah, you're a control freak.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. But
not here.
Being a control freak with 9 people on your team, it allows you to say, it's like if you had a baseball team, third base, second base, shortstop, first base, catcher. Everyone is good at what they do. Now let's start. You take a break, you take a break, you take a break, and you focus on the things that you need to. Because when everyone takes time away from the more important things in their life, it takes their focus back to work and makes it a lot more serious.
Yeah. And we've already started doing some of that, I will say. Right now we're in a real busy season, but we'll slow down a little bit in January because we'll go from like winter sports, we have the bulk of it now, and we'll still have some, but that's going to be a lot of training, because right now it's like you want to please your customers, you want to get everything out the door, but that's coming, and they're great, they're fast learners, which is great. But it's wild because when you're on your own and you're doing things a certain way, and then you've kind of grown all the way to here, it's like taking the time to have to teach people things. It's tough when you also have a responsibility to get it done. So we're there. I 100% agree with you. And I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait. I've always been a good delegator. Even in my job at the county, I was in management. In the 31 years I was in management, maybe 10 of them.
All right, Karen, well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Really appreciate the swag that you gave to Dan and I. Can't wait to rock it. Super comfortable. If anyone's looking for swag apparel for their company, for their business, for themselves, for their cheerleaders, so on, where could they find you?
So it's Always Driven Apparel. We're in Toms River, across the street from the Home Depot in the Pleasant Plaza. We just moved within that plaza. We doubled our space. We had like 1,250 square feet. Now we're at like 2,600 square feet. We're gonna have another grand opening, to get everybody back to see like our new digs. We love it. But you can find us there. We're also on Facebook. We're on Instagram under Always Driven Apparel, and on Instagram Always Driven Apparel 1. And on top of doing screen printing and embroidery and bling apparel, we also have varsity jackets, we do uniforms for sports teams, we do a plethora of stuff. So we're looking into now carrying some tactical gear for law enforcement. We've been asked about that, so we're looking into that now. So we're growing. So awesome. Come and see us.
Awesome, guys. Well, listen, check out Always Driven Apparel in Toms River. And it was an honor having you on our show. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Thanks for having me.